There are moments in a soul's life where something begins to stir long before we understand it. A quiet ripple beneath the surface. A whisper that doesn't come from outside, but from the ancient corridors of your own being. Something old, something sacred, something that countless mystics, prophets, and awakened ones have hinted at for centuries. You didn't click on this message by accident. You didn't stumble into this moment by coincidence. If you're here, listening to these words, there is a reason. Not one created by chance, but one woven long before you took your first breath. This message isn't meant for everyone, and that's why it found you. Because there comes a time, often at the edge of great internal transformation, when certain souls feel the approach of something known only in whispers, something long hidden behind symbolism, prophecy, and forgotten spiritual languages, something called the seventh seal. But what does it really mean? And more importantly, what does it mean for you? The seventh seal has been described in ancient texts, carved in metaphors, spoken in riddles. But almost no one ever speaks about what it signifies internally. Within the soul's evolution, within your spiritual timeline, within the moment where your identity begins to shift from who you thought you were to who you actually are. You see, the seventh seal is not a threat, not a punishment, not an external event crashing into the world. It is an energetic threshold inside the human experience, a precise point in consciousness when something dormant finally awakens, when the spiritual pattern that has been waiting in silence starts to move. And when it does, everything changes. You might have felt it already, a pull, a pressure, a sense that the life you've lived until now no longer fits the version of yourself that is emerging. A strange stillness before major internal shifts, an increased awareness of subtle energies, a rising intuition that feels more like memory than imagination. For many, it begins with the sense that the world around them is somehow thinning, that the boundary between physical and spiritual is dissolving. Some describe it as a ringing in the inner ear. Others feel it in their dreams, symbols becoming clearer, messages becoming louder. Others feel it in the body, waves of energy, heat along the spine, heart expansions, sudden fatigue followed by sudden clarity. These are not coincidences. These are not symptoms of confusion or imbalance. These are signals, signals that the old layers, the first 6 layers, the first 6 seals, have completed their cycle, and the 7th is beginning to open. The 7th seal reveals itself only when the soul has reached a critical point, a point of readiness that cannot be faked, forced, or pretended. It opens when the soul is aligned, even if the mind doesn't understand what is happening. And perhaps you're here because you have reached that point. So, what is the 7th seal? To understand it, imagine the journey of a human soul as a spiral, not a straight line. Every loop of the spiral represents a cycle of awakening, learning, releasing, expanding. The first seals are connected to survival, emotion, identity, power, expression, intuition. Each one unlocks a new dimension of self-awareness. Each one breaks an illusion and replaces it with clarity. But the 7th seal, that one is different. It is the point where the spiral stops moving outward and begins to move inward. The 7th seal marks the moment when the soul reaches a state of internal silence, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of knowing. It is the moment where your consciousness no longer reaches outward for meaning, but inward for truth. It is the doorway between the self you became through life and the self you have always been beyond life. The 7th seal, is the activation of your deepest spiritual memory, the memory of why you incarnated, why you were guided through certain pains, why you crossed paths with specific souls, why you felt out of place in certain environments, and why you've always sensed something calling you forward. This seal does not open with noise, it opens with stillness. Like the ancient text says, "When the seventh seal is opened, there is silence in heaven." This silence isn't an absence of sound. It's the moment when the internal storm stops, where doubt, confusion, and fear lose their power, where the soul stops searching for external validation and begins living from its inner authority. When the seventh seal activates, you begin to see yourself, not as a character in the world, but as consciousness experiencing the world. You stop looking for signs and begin becoming the sign. When the seventh seal energy begins to move within you, the transformation is subtle but profound. You may notice 1. Old emotional wounds rising for final release. Not to hurt you, but to free you from every past cycle that no longer aligns with your emerging frequency. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you. 2. A detachment from old desires. What once mattered deeply begins to feel irrelevant or outdated. 3. An increase in intuitive accuracy. You know things without knowing how. You sense outcomes before they unfold. 4. A heightened sense of purpose. Not a job, not a mission, but a feeling, a direction of your soul. 5. A dissolving of fear-based identity. You respond differently. You don't get pulled into dramas. You feel a quiet power that comes from within. 6. A feeling of standing between worlds, not fully in the old, not fully in the new, but in a threshold space where something ancient is reawakening inside you. This is the internal signature of the seventh seal. It is a spiritual activation, not an external event. It is the moment the soul steps into sovereignty, into remembrance, into its original blueprint. Very few souls reach this point in a single lifetime, not because they aren't capable, but because the path requires depth, honesty, courage, and the willingness to walk alone when necessary. The seventh seal does not open for those who live on the surface. It opens for those who have walked through darkness without losing their humanity, have endured spiritual loneliness with dignity, have questioned everything, including themselves, have broken cycles that past generations could not, have felt the call of something higher, even when they didn't have the words for it. If these words feel like they are describing you, then you already know, even without proof, that you are not an ordinary soul. You are one of the ones who came here with a different purpose, a purpose that is awakening now because the time has finally come. Your sensitivity is not weakness. Your intuition is not imagination. Your inner conflict was not confusion. It was transformation. You were being prepared. The seventh seal activates only in those who have completed enough inner alignment to hold the energy of their true self. And perhaps you are one of those rare ones. As the seventh seal opens deeper, life changes in ways you can feel but cannot always explain. You will notice people react to you differently, not because you changed your behavior, but because your frequency is shifting. You move through challenges differently. What once triggered you no longer has the same power. Your perception sharpens. You begin seeing the structure behind situations, not just the appearance. Synchronicities increase. Numbers, symbols, dreams, signs. Not random, not accidental, but guidance. Your inner authority grows. You stop looking for answers outside because you start hearing them inside. And most importantly, you begin embodying your soul, not visiting spiritual awareness, but living from it. The seventh seal is the embodiment stage, where the spiritual self takes the lead and the old identity begins to dissolve with grace. You might wonder, why now? Why me? Why this path? The truth is simple. You were always meant to reach this point. From the moment your soul entered this lifetime, you carried within you the imprint of the seventh seal, a dormant energy programmed to awaken only when you reached a specific level of awareness. Every challenge you faced, every heartbreak, every shift, every moment of questioning was part of your preparation. The seventh seal is not given. It is unlocked. Unlocked through experience, through growth, through remembrance. You didn't choose the awakening. It chose you because it recognized the strength of your soul. If you're here right now, it means you've already crossed the threshold. The activation is already happening. Your soul is already moving into the next phase of its unfolding. What happens next? As the seventh seal integrates, your life will begin restructuring itself around your authenticity. Expect new connections, new opportunities, new clarity, new purpose. Expect old situations to fall away. Expect truth to rise. Expect your path to sharpen. You will begin feeling guided, not by external teachings, but by inner knowing. This is the point where you stop seeking the path and begin walking it. Your presence becomes alignment. Your intuition becomes direction. Your authenticity becomes your compass. The seventh seal does not give you a new destiny. It reveals the one you were always meant to live. So now you stand in this moment, not at the end, not at the beginning, but at a crossing point. The energy of the seventh seal has found you because you are ready. Ready to shed the old skins of who you used to be. Ready to step into the version of yourself that has been waiting patiently. Ready to embrace the truth you once feared. You are more than human. You are a soul remembering itself. This is your awakening, your activation, your return. And as you move forward, the path will illuminate beneath your feet, not because you see it, but because you are it. The seventh seal is not outside you, it is within you, and now it is opening. There comes a moment near the end of every spiritual cycle where the soul pauses, not because it is uncertain, but because it is finally ready to see itself clearly. A moment where everything you have been, everything you have endured, everything you have transformed through, aligns into a single point of undeniable truth. You are standing in that moment now, not by accident, not by chance, but by alignment. Because when the seventh seal begins to open, the soul is brought to a place where it can no longer pretend to be smaller than it is. It can no longer carry identities that were built to survive, but were never meant to guide. It can no longer dim itself for the comfort of others, or shrink itself into familiar patterns. It begins to expand from the inside out. In this final phase of awakening, you will feel something remarkable, a merging, the merging of your past self with your true self, the merging of your yearning with your purpose, the merging of your human experience with your soul memory. There is a deep reconciliation happening within you, a bridging between who you thought you needed to be and who you actually are. The distance between those two identities becomes smaller with each breath, each realization, each quiet decision to honor your authenticity. And as this merging happens, you may notice a soft but powerful shift. Things you once tolerated now feel impossible to engage with. People who once occupied space in your life begin to drift away. Old situations unravel, not to break you, but to free you. The seventh seal doesn't open with destruction. It opens with revelation. Revelation of truth, revelation of essence, revelation of destiny. You may feel yourself stepping into a new kind of clarity, one that doesn't come from analysis, but from remembrance. A clarity that rises from the deepest part of you, the part that has always known where you were meant to go, who you were meant to become, what you were meant to bring into this world. This clarity isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, it doesn't need to be, because truth doesn't shout, truth resonates. And you are beginning to feel that resonance in your bones, in your dreams, in your decisions, in the subtle shifts in your energy. It hums quietly beneath every moment, guiding you without forcing you, lighting the path without demanding that you walk it before you're ready. But make no mistake, the path is there now. It exists because you exist. It unfolds because you are unfolding. As the seventh seal integrates deeper into your consciousness, you will find that the world around you begins to respond differently. Not because the world is changing, but because you are. Your frequency shifts the way people see you. Your energy alters the opportunities that come toward you. Your presence activates others without you even trying. This is the silent power of an awakened soul. And this is the stage of awakening reserved only for those who have endured enough darkness to recognize their own light, and enough transformation to hold their own truth without collapsing under its weight. You are no longer walking toward awakening. You are walking from awakening, from remembrance, from clarity, from alignment. This is what the seventh seal unlocks. The ability to navigate life not from fear, but from consciousness, not from wounds, but from wisdom, not from survival, but from sovereignty. In the days ahead, you may feel a stronger pull toward solitude, not because you are lonely, but because your energy is recalibrating. You may feel drawn to silence, reflection, nature, stillness. These are not signs of withdrawal, they are signs of activation. Your inner being is reorganizing itself to match the frequency of the soul you are becoming. Honor this process. Honor the quiet. Honor the stillness, because inside that stillness, new guidance will emerge. And when it does, you will feel a surge of alignment, a moment of inner recognition that says, "This is where I'm meant to be. This is who I'm meant to become. This is the life that was waiting for me."